Hello, 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 everyone. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Tonight, our guest is Emily Wharton, kidney cancer patient, blind lady, former director of the Iowa Department for the Blind, blogger, and kidney can advocate. Emily grew up legally blind in a small town in northwest Iowa without access to blindness skill training or positive role models. She has said that she had no belief that she would be employed or independent as a result of that. However, through her hard work, dedication, and education, she overcame all that to become a great asset to the blind community in Iowa. Emily has been an advocate for the blind all of her life. She was a network administrator and webmaster for Blind Inc., established in 1986. That is a training center and community of blind and low vision people, proudly affiliated with the National Federation of the Blind. Emily developed a system called Codemaster to help other adults learn Braille much more quickly than normal. Due to her advocacy work with the blind, and in particular her unwavering support of the use of Braille, and as a former student of the department, in 2016, Emily was named as the director of the Iowa Department for the Blind. Previously, she had served as the department's technology director. Unfortunately, in July of 2024, after 7 years of service, Emily was forced to resign due to her issues with stage 4 kidney cancer that she struggled with for more than a year and a half. Emily was on immunotherapy treatment after having a kidney removed in September of 2023 and subsequently learned that the cancer had moved to her brain in November of 2023. In her retirement letter, Wharton stated that metastatic kidney cancer is, quote, a battle I will most likely be continuing to fight for the rest of my life, unquote. Quote, treatment, side effects, and chronic conditions they create have greatly reduced my stamina and tolerance for stress. While my love of public service and passion for empowering blind Iowans to be gainfully employed and live independently has not diminished, I am afraid I can no longer continue to put forth the high level of energy and effort our citizens deserve, unquote. Quote, the skills, positive attitude toward blindness, and self-confidence I gained in my training in the IDB Center made me understand that the amount of eyesight a person possesses has nothing to do with their worth, competency, or potential. I have been blessed by this rare opportunity to pay forward such a profound gift, unquote. Then Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds said this about Emily, quote, Emily Wharton has dedicated her career to serving the blind. She has long been a passionate advocate, empowering blind Iowans to live independently, work, and fully contribute to their communities. She has made a difference in the lives of many Iowans, and I am grateful for her service. Emily continues her battle against kidney cancer, and tonight this champion shares her story with us. Please give a warm welcome to the great Emily Wharton. Emily, how are you this evening?
I'm doing all right. That's quite the introduction. I'm a little overwhelmed, but yeah, doing really well.
All right. Did I state everything correctly in the introduction? Did I miss anything?
Yeah, no, definitely, and then some. So, uh, yeah, that was great.
Okay. Please tell us a little bit about where you grew up, your education, and your employment experiences.
So I was born in Nebraska, Iowa, which is a town of about 1,000 people up in the northwest corner of the state. And my parents ran a hardware store, and uh, with the 23 people in a graduating class, it was not your typical small town. Definitely not a place where you want to be different at all. You want to try and blend in as much as possible, but I kind of stuck out because I couldn't see very well. And I didn't, unfortunately, the way the services are to youth at the time was 40 years ago. And unfortunately, they're pretty much the same way today in Iowa. Really didn't get taught Braille or cane trowel or any kind of the blindness skills that I would need to live independently and be able to really keep up with my schoolwork with my classmates. So I was really struggling to read large print. I had to have I would have a burn mark on the forehead basically because I would be leaning over a hot lamp trying to read. And I would read probably about 55 words a minute at max, which was just not enough to keep up. And so I really struggled in school. And I really struggled because I didn't feel very good about myself. I felt different. I felt always less than everybody else around me. And so I went to college and I really struggled there. Fortunately, I came into contact with the Iowa Department for the Blind, and my rehabilitation counselor encouraged me to come to the Iowa Blindness Empowerment and Independence Center and learn the skills of blindness that I didn't learn as a kid: the Braille, the how to use a computer with speech, how to do cane travel, different things non-visually, even woodworking, and how to run things like a table saw and a radial arm saw non-visually. And so that experience changed my life. It made me realize that I wasn't a broken sighted person. I was a fully competent blind person, and I could do whatever I wanted to do. And so I was so overcome by that experience that I wanted to teach others. So upon graduating from the center, I got a job at Blind Incorporated up in Minneapolis and taught there for 15 years. I taught Braille, cane travel, all the things I didn't learn as a kid. I was teaching to others as an adult, and technology. Did a lot with network administration. I kind of became a utility infielder. But I got really interested in Braille education and trying to find ways to teach Braille better and more for adults, because a lot of teaching techniques were kind of geared towards kids, and adults learn differently, and they also kind of have different expectations for learning. And so I worked with my mentor Peggy Elliott and different colleagues to develop the Codemaster system for Braille uh, learning for adults, and that really made a big impact on the teaching. Got some good national attention, which was great. Still available today through my website's free and open source to folks who want to download it and use it and teach it in their classes. And so, but at that time, my wife was ill, and she was the director of the Blind Incorporated at the time, and realized it wasn't necessarily sustainable for her to continue to do that while she was really ill with some really bad side effects of arthritis. So a position opened up here at the Iowa Department for the Blind for the technology director position. And I was really excited to be able to come back to Iowa and give back to the department, which had given me so much. So through a series of circumstances, I wasn't really ever intending to become the director of the agency, but the position came open, and I realized that it would be a good fit, and that would be an opportunity for me to be able to try and help more people on a larger scale. And so I spent 7 years as director of the Department for the Blind. Really loved that opportunity. Got to work with some of the just most amazing people, just really outstanding professionals, and really get to. It's so wonderful to be able to work, and I had this at Blind Incorporated too, being able to work with great people, all pulling in the same direction and the same mission. And so it was really disappointing and a big struggle for me to decide to leave last fall. I mean, started about a year ago in the fall, but to leave my position this summer. I just, after going through the treatments with kidney cancer, the different side effects, the different things that I'd been through with it, it was just really a lot. And while I loved my job, it was very, very stressful and not something that I could really sustain at my current level of energy. So I ended up retiring this summer, which has allowed me to focus on my other great passions in life, which are um, writing poetry and also really greatly enjoy woodworking. It was a hobby I picked up after learning to do that when I was in the orientation center. So now I have a full wood shop in my garage and really enjoy getting to do that as well. Kidney
Okay,
cancer, you might have stopped my career or altered my career, but definitely doesn't keep me from doing stuff.
that's great. That's great. My notes tell me, Emily, that you've had a total of 26 years of blindness teaching, curriculum development, technology, and leadership. Do I have the time frame correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. I understand that you're a married lady. Could you please tell us a little bit about your spouse?
Yeah, my wife Sean is upstairs trying to keep our dog quiet right now after the recording. But if you hear some barking, that would be Haiku. We have a Sheltie who's just about 3 years old and full of energy and about as cute as can be. And so she gets away with a lot of stuff. She's very well obnoxious. Um, my wife is also as cute as could be, but not obnoxious like the dog. Um, so we've been together for just about 24 years now, and we're fell in love when we were working together at Blind Incorporated, and uh, really I can't imagine my life without her. She had cancer, uh, ALL, uh, what do you call it? The blood cancer. The name of which
Okay.
is escaping me right now. When she was 17, and so she understands what it's like to have cancer. So I am really truly blessed to have a partner is that understands cancer from the patient side of things. She can know, like, I can just say I'm having a bad cancer day, and she knows what that means. So I didn't think she'd ever believe that she'd be coming at this from the caregiver side of things. But just with her health conditions, I was always in the caretaker role before this, so it was a little bit of a role reversal. But I couldn't ask for a better partner for life, and she's just absolutely outstanding.
Is is Sean a sighted person, or does she have issues with her vision too?
No, she was blind. She went blind from leukemia, the word that was escaping me. While she was battling leukemia, that she lost a significant amount of eyesight there. So
Okay. I understand that you're a poet. Can you please talk to us about your experiences with that?
yeah, so I one of my I had intended when I went up to work at Blind Incorporated that would be or a couple of years. My goal was to go back to graduate school and ev- essentially teach poetry, get my Master of Fine Arts. I ended up getting my Master of Fine Arts while I was working up in Minnesota, but never decided I really wanted to stay where I was and continue teaching and working on the blindness field and continue. I felt passionate about that. Um, and so, but I've always written poetry and loved writing poetry and reading poetry. Um, so that one of the blessings of it's a weird word to use of cancer has been that I have been able to have the time to focus more on poetry and writing, and I'm working on a couple of collections right now. A couple of different kind of books in process. I have one chapbook that I've put out about oh gosh, it must have been about 4 or 5 years ago now, called Zoomorphic, and so I'm working on couple of their full length collections and chapbooks as well. I've got kind of a bit of a backlog because when I was working, I was really not having the kind of time and energy I wanted to devote to it. So now I'm trying to play catch up here. You know, really cancer inspires you to not waste time. So I'm really trying to, make sure that I get these collections put together and things the way that I want them, because and really be able to put my work out there. I have a website. It's poetry.one. That's a little bit under construction. I'm hoping to have everything kind of link off of there, but I currently all my poetry stuff is on my my blot website. It's it's witty title here .blot.im. So it has just samples of what I'm working on right now, links to my chapbook, and links to different poems and poets I like, kind of a poetry collection point. Is a little bit of my kind of poetry home base right now. Hoping to expand that out and get linked into my main website.
Okay.
The next couple of months.
So, it sounds great. Keep us posted, and be sure to send me the links to where people can find your poetry. I'll make sure that I share that for you.
Yeah, I'm working on the most kind of interesting project I think really right now, and what I'm writing most about is about cancer and about just my process of going through treatment with cancer. Hoping to be able to have a book length manuscript together for that within the next couple months.
Excellent. Excellent. I'd be happy to help you share the links for that too. Your Uncle Jim is good on social media, honest.
All right, that's awesome.
Let's talk a little bit about your experiences with stage 4 kidney cancer. Please tell us about the circumstances that led up to your diagnosis.
So during the fall of 2022, I was starting to feel really run down, tired. My secretary kind of walked in one day, and I was like laying on the floor, just trying to, to rest a little bit in my office because I was just really worn out. So I had gone to the doctor, and they were running a whole bunch of tests, a whole bunch of cardiac tests, and really not being able to find anything. It just so happened that they did some blood work and found out that I was anemic. And just when they were trying to check my magnesium levels to see about because they were worried about my ADD meds, and so it was just kind of a fluke that they found out that I was anemic, and then couldn't figure out where the blood was going, and so they did different scans and sent me to a GI doc, and she was doing upper GI scope and lower GI scope and couldn't find anything. She's like, well, let's just do a CT scan. And when she did a CT scan, it found cancer on, there was a 13.1-inch tumor on my right kidney. And then there are metastases, about 6 or so metastases in my lungs, and then on my lymph nodes and adrenal gland. And so I was in a meeting with one of my managers in my office day after the scan, and I got a call from the GI doc, didn't think anything of it, because my thought was, oh, she's going to say they didn't find anything, we have to run another test. And so I was like, hey, can I just take this real quick? And so I pick up the phone, and the GI doc says, well, I have to tell you that it's not good news. And she told me about the tumor and the metastases. And I was just floored. I didn't know that, I didn't know a lot of things. Number one, I didn't know there was such a thing as kidney cancer. I didn't know that you could get cancer in your kidneys, that was even a thing. I didn't know that doctors would just call you up and tell you that they had cancer on the phone. That's something that never happens on TV like that.
Yeah.
So I was really not expecting that. And to not only hear that I had cancer, but that I had metastases that it would spread. I just I was heard the words that she was saying. Like I knew them. I could repeat them back later to my wife and to other people, but I was just so incredibly stunned. I wasn't even processing it. And so I got off the phone and it was fortunate the manager was in my office, a good friend also. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I just got told I have cancer.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really surreal. That's not 100%. I mean, the unusual. I have a friend who has breast cancer found out in a similar way. She found out right when she just stepped out of a meeting and got a phone call and found out she had breast cancer and had to walk back into a meeting. So it kind of happens, but you'd never really expect that to go that way. Nobody expects that phone call to start with, but you never think that that's a phone call that would be made. So, but I was really, really lucky because my GI doctor was incredible, and she had already, before she even called me, set me up an appointment with a oncologist for. This was on a Friday, and I was seeing the oncologist on Monday.
Okay.
Um,
I I have the date of that phone call, January 20th, 2023.
mhm.
Do I have the date correct?
Yep, it was just the day before my wife's 50th birthday. So
Oh,
I was throwing her a 50th birthday party the next day. So it was a little surreal.
what were your symptoms like at that time?
Really, it was mostly the fatigue, and which I thought was due to the anemia, which I mean, I guess it was. But I didn't have any other, no pain, no shortness of breath. You would think with 6 metastases in my lungs that I would have some kind of shortness of breath or some kind of symptoms there, but I really didn't. Um, I had some heart palpitations, but, really that was about it. Nothing that would have, uh, really given anybody a lot of clues. That's actually fairly typical for folks with kidney cancer. There's not a lot of, prior warning. Mostly people will find it through a scan that they're doing for another reason.
Wow. What was your meeting like with your oncologist the following Monday?
Pretty surreal. Um, I was trying really hard not to Google, and which is one of the things that they tell you not to Google stuff, and it's a really really good advice because usually what you will find on Google is going to be at least 3 to 5 years older than what the most current science that you're going to get from your doctor. And that can make a big difference in your numbers. And if you're asking about survival rates and percentages, which I was, because I'm a database nerd. I love data, and so I wanted to know percentages. I wanted to know my chances, and so I wasn't excited about what I heard, but they were better than what was online. Because what was online was looking around like 11% survival rate at 5 years, whereas it was 47% when I talked to the doctor. It was still lower than what I was wanting for a 5 year survival rate, but definitely a lot better. Um, it's um, and so that's very very challenging to get your head around, for sure. That also, but the I had come in and I'm thinking, okay, so there's got this big tumor on my kidney. Obviously, my needs to go. Get it out right now. Here, I'll do it myself. Give me some salad tongs and some kitchen shears. You know, really going hope for that. And the doctor's like, well, we don't do that usually because when you have metastases, what we want to try and do is get the treatment in your system to take care of those metastases first, keep it from spreading any further, and then we can go ahead and take out what basically was the mothership tumor. Um, and I'm like, I don't necessarily love this idea, but I'm gonna say this is, but it did have a certain logic to it, and I could get behind it. And I'm like, okay. So she got me. They did a biopsy uh, within about a week, um, and so the nice thing was I was just super lucky because I had really good insurance. And honestly, that I hate to say it but that's a big part of the story for pretty much everybody about what kind of insurance you have going into this. Because if you don't have good insurance, your standard of care will drop precipitously. But I was fortunate I had, state employee health insurance, and it was, once I met my threshold to pay for everything 100%. And I was also very quick to approve things. I wasn't waiting for approvals a lot. And so within the next week, I went in, got a biopsy. Um, it confirmed what they already knew. It was cancer from the scans. It wasn't much of a mystery, but starting to be able to type it because I have clear cell carcinoma, um, and what they call type 2. So there's stages and types. Your stage is defined was how progressed it is, and stage 4 means it's left the original area and spread out and metastasized. Type 2 means that's not as slow growing as a type 1, but definitely more slow growing than a type 4. So that was a reasonably good news. Um, but the so went pretty much immediately into immunotherapy treatment after that, which in my case was Yervoy and Optivo. Um, so typically, what they'll do is about 4 months worth of Yervoy, and then they continue on with the Optivo after that, and do the Optivo and the Yervoy together, and then continue Optivo after the Yervoy is finished. And some people have some really bad reactions to that, and I was really, really lucky that I had no reactions to the Yervoy at all. And the reactions I did have to the Optivo came later and were definitely not as severe as some of them could be. Not that so that I didn't have to stop it. Some people will have to stop it because their side effects are so severe. And I was fortunate to make it almost to the end of the 2-year treatment of Optivo.
Okay. Um, After your diagnosis, what did they tell you about your prognosis? You mentioned that you had a discussion about your prognosis, your life expectancy. What did the doctor tell you?
Yeah, I mean, she's the fact that the 5-year survival rate is about 47%. Um, so that's I was thinking about that, and I would, basically a half a chance of making it 5 years. And so far, knock on wood, beating that. Um, but yeah, so that was kind of it was. I always had the number in my head. It's hard not to have that number in your head, um, and to just want to be on the right side of that number. But I realized there was only so much control I had over that, which is I'm a control freak by nature. So knowing that I had a limited amount of control about where I ended up on that, and I could go and I could do everything right. I could have the most awesome diet and be completely dedicated to my treatments and do everything I'm supposed to do, and it could still not work out, and through no fault of my own or anybody else's, because that's cancer. Um, so it took a lot to kind of let go of that, but still be on it and do everything that I possibly could do to try and improve those odds as much as I could.
Okay. You mentioned some of your medications, Activo, uh, Avastan, and Yervoy. Can you tell us what those medications are for, what they do?
So a lot of times, like I thought, well, I have cancer, so obviously I have chemo, right? Because everybody thinks cancer and chemo. Um, and sometimes I'll even say that they're chemo because people just don't. People sometimes just be confused, but and they call them chemo up in the lab where you go to get them. They call it the chemo lab. Anyway, but they're actually immunotherapy. And so what they do is they take and supercharge your immune system to get it to be able to fight the cancer. And so there's a number of different immunotherapies out there. You know, I don't even think I can list them all. I'm very bad at the Latin names also. So the combination that I was given, Optivo and Yervoy, which is also called Abinivo, I learned later. There's a lot of names for things, a lot of Latin going on that you get to learn through this process. And so they're were really recommended for the type of cancer that I have. And a lot of people have had a lot of good success on them. So then the other one you referenced there is Avastin. That was a treatment that's kind of an older treatment for kidney cancer, but they were actually giving me that last fall and try and help with the headaches that I was getting as a result of my brain tumor. I had some fortunately, my brain tumor was radiated and blasted, but then I had some headaches and some side effects from that they gave me the Avastin, which also has the bonus of being a medicine that is traditionally used to treat kidney cancer. So doctor's like, well, we might get double duty on it, so that would be great. So that was actually really successful in getting rid of those headaches. Those were real annoying. But yeah, I did have side effects. It's hard to not have any side effects. These are really, really strong medications. The biggest one was fatigue. It was really, really draining um, to be on these medications. I would get them every 4 weeks, and so I would start to finally feel a little bit of energy, and then I'd go get another treatment, and boom, be kind of knocked on my butt then for a while. But also another side effect that I got was it interfered with my production of adrenaline, and so I got an adrenal insufficiency. Ended up in the emergency room, just completely and utterly drained. And so it can be everybody thinks of kind of adrenaline as like when you get your heart gets pumping or you're watching a scary movie or something like that, or being chased by wolves, which is one of its functions. But we just kind of need adrenaline to live and just kind of keep everything moving in our systems. And if you don't get enough adrenaline, it can be kind of dangerous. So I have to take a steroid, hydrocortisone, daily to make sure that that gets replaced in my system. And in theory, now that I'm off the Optivo, that might come back. It's kind of, there's a chance that it will come back, and there's a chance that it won't, and I'll just stay on the hydrocortisone forever. It's definitely inconvenient and not great, but definitely better than an alternative. So that was kind of the major, until I also got, which is very, very common, I got colitis. So, an inflammation in the colon from the Optivo. That's a very common thing that'll happen too. So that happened to me a couple of times. I had to back down my treatment and take some steroids, and so those are the kind of things that'll pop up over the course of immunotherapy.
Okay. My notes tell me you mentioned the mothership tumor. My notes tell me in September of 2023 that you had some kind of removal. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so I had my right kidney was totally taken out. That was a mothership tumor. When they took it out, the lab report said it was basically the size about it was like a football, not a regulation NFL football, but kind of more a little bit a more child-sized football, but definitely really large and mostly tumor by the time they took it out. I was really glad that they had me do the immunotherapy first and get the other tumors gone. They were gone pretty much by I started immunotherapy right beginning of February 23, and by the end of August, my tumors had basically disappeared. And so they felt it was safe to do the removal of the big tumor, which had started to show signs of dying from the treatment. So it was starting to die, but it was a big tumor, so it was good to get it out of there. Get the it had pretty much engulfed the kidney, so the kidney wasn't going to be useful anymore. I was pretty much working off the one kidney anyway. Um, and so that was actually the nephrectomy was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. They really did a good job. The surgeon was excellent in getting that removed, and I was only in the hospital for less than a day.
Okay.
Got
Eh,
home and got up and walking around and getting exercise and getting back to it. Really read a lot online about how to do that, and it was so important to get up and walk around and um, eat even though you don't want to, and just really getting back into the swing of things. That helped a lot.
Okay. About the brain tumor, my notes are telling me that you were diagnosed with a brain tumor in October of 2023. On November 3rd, you had a brain scan, and on the 14th of November 2023, you had a high intensity targeted radiation on that M&M sized tumor in your brain. Do I have the dates correct?
Yeah. Um, so I was talking with an oncologist after the kidney removal, and I said, I really would like, well, just for peace of mind, and I kind of had some weird things happening. It would be great to have a brain scan. I'd been just a little bit off. Like I would be, um, I was trying to explain it to the oncologist, and like everyone think I'm insane, but usually when you're blind, you get kind of used to hearing where walls are and different shapes of rooms and different like the sound will bounce off of stuff. And so I I was just finding, within the last couple of years, I was off about 4 or 5 inches on the right hand side, and I would like clip my right shoulder on doors and stuff like that. And I was falling down, like I would just lose my balance um, as I'm walking the dog. I'm a pretty klutzy person, and honestly, you put a tiny bit of ice, and I'm gonna fall down anyway. But it was falling down when there wasn't ice, and it was really weird. I said, hey, "Can we just do a brain scan?" And she was like, "Oh, there's no way. There's going to be anything. No problem. But we'll do it. Just want to make cover all our bases." And so did a brain MRI on November 3rd, and I remember the date really well because it was a Friday, and did about 2:30 in the afternoon. I got a message on my phone. I don't know how people had cancer before they had apps, like my chart app and the Follow Your Health and stuff that give you your test results right away. That's been so great to be able to see that stuff. I couldn't imagine waiting days or weeks for test results. um, but it showed up, and I read the results, and it said there was a tumor in my brain about the size of an M&M, and I was just floored. I was experiencing the symptoms, but I was thinking, oh, I'm being dramatic. There's no way. The odds are totally against there being a brain tumor, and then there was a brain tumor. Um, Fortunately, that night I was already set to go out with some friends of mine who had grown up with in Aurelia. There's about 4 of us who live in Des Moines, and we'll get together for dinner, every once in a while, and so we did some shots that night, um, and so that was good because it's probably the best thing to do is to go have shots when you figure out you have a brain tumor. So um, yeah, it was just such a shock. I was not expecting that at all. And honestly, that was probably my worst fear is having a brain tumor. I was telling people my brain is my favorite organ. It's what I like about myself the most. I really like my brain. I want to keep my brain. I don't want it to
Sure.
have a brain tumor. And so I was really very terrified. So it was really fortunate that everything happened so quickly. So right away, I got referred to a radiation oncologist, and they did got me set up for targeted high intensity radiation right away. And that is such a trip. What they do is they basically bolt your head down to a table. Like they let you keep the mask. So I got it here. They make a mask and they
Oh
put this
gosh.
over. Yeah. So this is like it wasn't hard plastic when they put it on. It's like they mold it to your head. And so I had this mask on, and they would use these bolts here on the sides to bolt it down to the table so you don't move your head at all. And then the table moves, like you're strapped in, and the table will move to these different stations, and there's little laser guns in a big circle. It's like your head is a Death Star, and there was a little tie-wing fighters all around or shooting at you with lasers, and they concentrate all the lasers from all the directions into one spot to give one really targeted radiation blast to the tumor. And it's really kind of amazing because you don't feel anything. Um, I really didn't have any radiation burns. There was a little bit of tenderness on the scalp in a couple of places, but I didn't really lose any hair. It was really kind of remarkable. I mean, I walked out of there like, did they really? I mean, it smelled a little bit like it was burning, but it was so surreal. It was very space age. Um, Unfortunately, I was really lucky with the size of the tumor and everything. They only had to do one treatment, and so it ended up killing the tumor. It took a while for it to show up as truly dead on the scans. The scans would show me that it looked dead, but there was some necrotic material, and the material would still light up on the scans, on the MRIs. And so I'm like, was it dead? Is it not dead? I ended up going to Iowa City to get a second opinion this summer, make sure like, okay, are we good here? Are we totally dead with this? And I'm like, yep, it's totally dead. So that was really good to have that reassurance on that. Um, because it was challenging in terms of side effects. The radiation really did cause me to have some headaches that were pretty severe. I ended up they put you on a very powerful steroid called dexamethasone during and after the procedure, and then you wean off of it. Well, I got off of it. I was having really bad headaches, and so they put me back on it twice before I could really wean off of it, just because I kept having kind of reactions to the radiation. So, and then the headaches persisted until I got the Avastin treatments last fall. So it was definitely worth it to get rid of the brain tumor, but it was the radiation is really powerful and can stay in your system for quite a while.
Okay. Please discuss with us, what are your current symptoms and conditions?
So right now, knock on wood,
Yeah.
with radiation of the brain tumor, I am no evidence of disease currently.
Oh, that's
So I
excellent.
do have, yeah. So the challenge with kidney cancer is it will come back. It's not a question of if it will come back; it's when it will come back. But there are a number of really promising new treatments. Was just on a webinar yesterday and talking about some of the advancements that they've made with some of the new drugs that they've um, uh, brought into treatment for wider use beyond just the study scope, like Buzetovec. I'm the worst at pronouncing the names of drugs. Um, uh, but there's also doing treatment, looking into doing CAR T treatment with T cells, uh, getting them where they take out your T cells and supercharge them and put them back into you, like they do for different blood cancers right now, and looking and bringing that to kidney cancer. So that's really exciting. So it could be that by the time it comes back, there's different treatments that are more powerful, and really can you know kick the cancer um, better, faster. But there's also I've got a lot of treatment lines available. I mean, the Optimal line is pretty much after the colitis, and I developed pancreatitis this fall from it, and that's pretty much that was pretty much saying I should not do that anymore. So I was really 2 treatments away from completing the 2-year cycle. I'm a completionist, so I really wanted to finish the cycle, so I was a little bummed about that. But I have plenty of lines of treatment left to me for when it does come back. And I'll probably, once I get through this pancreatitis, still lingering, talk with my doctor about, should I be proactive in getting another treatment or waiting till it comes back, and what kind of would show the best results. Um, so it's kind of nice to be off of treatment for a while, to not have the fatigue and the side effects. I wouldn't mind having some more time. Um, Particularly if it's pancreatitis would go away, where I could really feel more energetic and more myself, and get to really get done a lot of the things I want to get done. Um, right now, my energy isn't always up to my ambition, but hopefully, the more well time I can have, the more they can equalize. So want to keep that
Wow.
window of no evidence disease open as long as I can, though, too. So, not wanting to try, there is something to be said for being proactive and not getting it come back, and kind of fighting a battle uphill that way. So, I'm going to be talking with my doctor about that in March, about kind of where next steps will be.
Okay. My notes are telling me that you had a colonoscopy in November of 2023. What was that all about, Em?
Oh, that was, they were wanting to make sure that the colitis that I was having was really due to Optivo, and it did. I found out, yep, there's the Optivo is definitely what was causing the colitis to happen. So, because that one of the things that the doctor warned me about right away when I was first diagnosed is like, you have to tell us if you have diarrhea. You have to tell us if you have these symptoms. It's very, very important. He's like, a lot of times we will lose people not to the cancer, but to the side effects um, on these things. So it's very important that we stay ahead of those. So, and colitis is one of those that they really, because it is very common with folks on Activo, that they really look out for and want to try and keep ahead of. And so that was my second bout of colitis in the fall. And so they wanted to make sure that yes, this is Optivo, and also because to make the decision to quit the Optivo, we want to make sure that we're doing the right thing there.
Do you also suffer from fibromyalgia?
Yeah, I've had a fibromyalgia probably since about 2015. I was diagnosed, and so it was interesting. I had that would it would control pretty well by gabapentin for a number of years, and then the gabapentin just totally stopped working all of a sudden. And I was trying to just basically kind of tough it out for a long time. Then when I got, really sick with the anemia and stuff like that, I kind of almost went on the wayside because that was more pressing. But it happened when I went on the Activo. My symptoms for fibromyalgia went away. So it was kind of a positive side effect of the Optivo, that I really wasn't feeling any of my fibro pain that I'd been feeling before. So, unfortunately, it came back after I quit the Optivo, so tend to feel that more now. Um, that would have been nice if it would have kept that going, but no such luck there. So.
Okay. How often do you have labs to check on your conditions, or uh, do they do studies or checks to make sure that the cancer hasn't come back? How frequently do you do that?
So, Get Labs definitely, right when I was on the Optivo, it was monthly labs. Definitely, they were checking my blood cell counts, making sure that all those were in line, and also that my comprehensive metabolic panel as well, making sure that all my electrolytes were good, that my kidney function was good, that there was no red flags coming up there. Those would probably be about quarterly at least, um, off of this treatment. And it will kind of depend on whether treatment regimen I go on in the future, but what the kind of standard of care is for those. I do get a quarterly brain scan and a quarterly abdominal CT scan, looking for additional tumors as well. Um, so
Great.
then the radiation oncologist said I would just keep doing quarterly brain scans for quite a while, just to make sure that there's no reoccurrence in the brain. Um, and same with the CT scans.
And so far, those recheck scans have all come out clear. Is that right?
Yeah, no, knock on wood. All the scans have been good. I'll do a brain scan here in February. Um, Again, the middle of February, and then I'll do another CT scan in March. Kind of,
Wow.
yeah, so it's 2 months and then a month off, and then this kind of cycles back through. So it's it's a bit of a roller coaster. A lot of times online in the different kidney cancer groups, people will talk about anxiety, but it's really real. It is. It gets a lot easier. I'm kind of an old pro at MRIs now and CT scans, and so I don't have the kind of nervousness and stress that I would have, with the first couple. But they're still really nerve wracking every time you got to go back and get checked. And then, friends with different cancers who, even when they're in remission for so many years, they're still going to get periodic 6 month or yearly checks. And there's still always just an element of um, uncertainty and stress around them. I got some great advice online when I first started with all this. Somebody told me to go get a massage on my scan day. And that's brilliant. That really helps.
Um, let's talk about your blog on Substack. Can you tell us a little bit about Live from Stage 4?
Yeah, so when I quit working, and I kind of wish I had done it before because there's a lot of things that happened over this whole process, the whole 18 months before I started the blog that I really would have liked to have really recorded more and shared more about. But I decided that it'd be a good project to record weekly the different things that are happening, the experiences that I'm having, in dealing with stage 4 cancer, the medical aspects of it, the, social, psychological, just everything that's kind of involved in living with a terminal disease because it's something that people don't really um, hear about or get to talk about very much. And it's a really, because I noticed how much it changed how I view life, how I view um, different things. And the kinds of things that will piss me off now versus before, um, the kinds of things that will excite me, and learning to look at life through that framework. And also just felt like I have a lot, you know, talk about in terms of kidney cancer, just because there's so little known about it. I didn't even know it was a thing that exists. And it's probably the ninth most common cancer in women. I think it's like sixth or seventh in men. So it's still very relatively rare compared to a lot of the cancers that people know about. And so anything I can do to increase the awareness, so that people understand that this is a thing that you know they do want to think about, check their family history. I mean, the biggest kind of markers or causes are family history and or if you're a previous smoker, which I was. Now I wish I wasn't. One of those things that I try to tell the younger generation not to ever start smoking. Um, but and also there's a lot of environmental causes around kidney cancer. A lot of the research is funded by the Department of Defense because a lot of the chemicals that folks are exposed to in the military will cause kidney cancer. And so, I don't know that Iowa is second in the nation for cancer among states. We're a pretty small state, so a lot of that has to do with the chemicals that's used in farming that goes into our drinking water. And so that is a major concern. So anything I can do to get, awareness raised, to get to also, to tell the story, but also to make sure that folks understand, um, kind of that um, this is a thing that is out there in the world and is happening, and that we need to, really make sure that we're dedicating funding towards research and how much research benefits people in their lives. It's funny, with the recent pauses on government grants, and that it's just mind blowing because it's not this is the least political of issues. And then we mentioned when we're with Kidney Can talking to senators or representatives about funding for kidney cancer research, and it's not a partisan issue because Republicans and Democrats are all going to get cancer, and rich people are going to get cancer. So this is not something that we should ever try to shortchange in order to give anybody any tax cuts, because it's going to benefit everyone, and it's such a no-brainer.
Okay, and your experience and my experience with the kidney camp people, we meet with our members of Congress and their staff, and we discuss kidney cancer and kidney cancer issues and initiatives and why we need funding. Would that be a fair statement?
Yeah, it was. I first got involved with them, I think, last March for the kidney cancer day of lobbying. Kind of took part of the day off from work and just from my office took the meetings that I was assigned. And kidney is great, and they are so together on how they put together their meetings and the advocacy. They make it incredibly easy. I've done advocacy before with other organizations, and never has it been this easy to participate. Just with all the information that they give you, everything is online, and there's a really neat portal. It's outstanding. It's so well put together, and they make it really easy and fun to do. And so you can get in. I've had about 6 or 8 meetings in a day, and got to talk to staffers in all kinds of different offices, both my own, and was assigned to some other states, and then I got to meet people from other states. So that's a really great opportunity too, to get to meet people in other parts of the country and talk with them. And you really feel like you've done something to be able to make a difference in something that seems very large and sometimes difficult to make a difference in. So I've done the advocacy days with them both in March and the fall one. I'm signed up already for the spring one, and then definitely encourage folks to, if you're out there, and it's a really great thing to get involved with. It's March 12th. And it seems kind of stressful at first to talk to people sometimes you have the reps or the senators themselves, but mostly you're talking to their staff, and it can be really intimidating. But it's not, because you just get on there and you tell your story and you tell why this is important, and they listen, and nobody's a jerk, nobody's mean, everybody's there because they're really legit trying to do something good, and trying to make a difference. And so it's just a really positive experience. I'd really encourage folks, if you're interested in that or have any kind of curiosity about, to really check out.
Okay. I just want to point out to everyone that if you are seeing links for certain things go by on the banners that I've posted to the broadcast. If you go to my personal page, Jim Myers, Myers, on Facebook, this broadcast is pinned to the top of that page, and in the comments are all my research on Emily and all of the links that we're talking about, the treatments, the medication, her blog, the experience with kidney can. All those links are there, so you can find them. So if you want to keep in touch with Em, or you want to know more about kidney can or medications or whatever, all of that stuff is there for you. So I know that those streamers go by pretty quick. So if they go by too fast and you wanted information, the stuff that's pinned at the top of my Facebook page, that's sitting still. So you should be able to access that at your leisure. And just so you know, there's always a replay to all of my broadcasts. So if you have friends or family that miss the broadcast, don't worry about it. You can share the replay. Uh, Emily, do you have any final statements that you would like to make to our audience tonight before we conclude the broadcast?
Just thank you all for listening and watching and being part of this. And I really, if folks do have questions about kidney cancer or anything, and please feel free to reach out. And I'd love to talk with you. I'd love to, be able to point folks to resources, or just be even. I'm a good listening ear, because I, having been there, there's just so incredibly overwhelming. That whole first month and or so is just incredible, when you get a diagnosis and what all that you have to go through. And so anything I can do to help anybody, I would be more than happy to.
Wow. Well, Emily, I want to thank you for coming on tonight and sharing your story. I want to tell our audience, this is the first broadcast I've done with somebody that suffers from blindness. And it's the first broadcast I've done with somebody that has stage 4 kidney cancer. And Emily, you've done such a wonderful job of explaining things and teaching us and raising awareness. And I just want to thank you for having the courage to come on and share your story. And I want to tell you, I hope they partner us up again when we do our presentations for Kidney Can for our meetings in March, because I had so much fun working with you, and I hope everybody out there can see the kind of person that you really are. You're very generous with your time and your talent.
Well, thank you, and I hope so too. It was a lot of fun hanging out with y'all and the folks. So
That's
thank you
great.
so much.
I have some things I have to button up with my audience. But again, I wanted to thank you, and I can let you go if you want to go now. It's been over an hour that you've given us, and I want to thank you again for your time. I just have to thank the audience and let them know who's going to be on next week.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that is our broadcast for tonight. I want to thank everybody for watching. Again, there'll be a broadcast replay. I'm going to post that to all 120 plus of my Facebook groups and all kinds of social media platforms. So if you missed the broadcast, you can catch it again. Our next broadcast is February 7th, 2025 at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. We're going to be talking with Jason McPhail. Jason is a first responder, police officer, very brave man. He's suffered from kidney failure. He's not yet on dialysis. He is looking for a preemptive kidney transplant. Good guy. Should be an interesting broadcast. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in, and thank everybody that catches the replay. And we will see you again next week with our friend Jason. So Take care. Have a good week, my friends.